Hello, Sensata Product University trainee. Welcome to our NPI 101 series. In this series, we will walk you through our encoder installation accessories, what they are, how they work, and what benefits they can provide. In this training, we will review each of our encoder installation accessories, as well as what each of them does in an application and examples of those applications. Encoders are vital components in a variety of industrial and commercial applications. Normally, they are the key sensors in applications with motors, like large pieces of capital equipment. Industrial encoders live in environments that are demanding and brutal. It's common for an encoder to need to withstand humans walking on them, blows from debris that have worked loose, or for direct integration into incredibly shaky motors for 10+ years. Installing an encoder correctly in these particularly demanding applications can mean the difference between a world of headaches and maintenance and one that is problem-free. Sensata BEI makes very robust encoders, but sometimes a designer needs something extra to ensure that the encoder can remain operational. To alleviate some of these issues seen with installing and preserving encoders within the application, Sensata BEI has a line of encoder installation accessories designed to help the encoders on the job. High load mounts help encoders with applications where the encoder might be subject to high side loads. The assembly fits between the motor and the encoder to reduce the loads felt by the encoder. They accept a NEMA 56C face on one side and an encoder on the other side. High side loads can be problematic for encoders as constant radial bearing loads at or above the maximum recommended loading will reduce the encoder's useful life. This is common in applications using V-belts and pulleys or gears, or with a measuring wheel with a high contact force. Also, in places where the encoder is at stepping height for access to a maintenance panel. Sensata has both foot and square bearing assemblies available. Foot assemblies have a built-in floor mount, while square mounts are intended to mount directly to the mating shaft and to float. Sometimes encoders need help mounting to different motors to ensure proper alignment to an industry standard, and sometimes to allow room for a flexible coupling. Improper mounting almost always shows up as reduced bearing life. That said, it can also appear as the need to replace flexible couplings frequently. To help customers properly interface with a variety of motors, Sensata BEI developed NEMA mounting adapters. Our NEMA mounting adapters work with our encoders to allow for easy mounting on various NEMA standard motors ranging from 23 to 56. Some adapters also provide thermal and electrical isolation. Some part of the encoder, either the rotor or the stator, must be allowed some flexibility to account for shaft runout. Often the encoder shaft is hard coupled to the mating shaft. In this case, a Flexmount must be used to prevent the equipment shaft runout from grinding the encoder bearings. To alleviate this issue, Sensata BEI developed the Flexmount. The Flexmount can be used with their H20 hub shaft encoders. It tethers the encoder body to the mounting surface while allowing flexibility for shaft runout. It is designed to accommodate shafts from 1/4 up to 5/8 inches in diameter and stick out 1/2 inch from the face of the mounting surface. Commonly, tachometers or tachogenerators were manufactured with a special flange, given the designation of 5py. Using our 5py adapter allows the installer to replace the old style analog tachometer with a new, more accurate digital encoder. The adapter is designed to accept a model H20D or a model H25D or E optical encoder. If you are using a mounting plate, you need to secure the encoder to the plate. Synchro Clamps were designed to do that. These clamps can be used to hold the face of the encoder against the mounting plate and allow the user to rotate the encoder for proper orientation before securing the clamps. They are available for use with the H25E or H20E encoders with a clamping groove or H26G with a clamping ring. Encoders often find themselves in applications where high-impact situations are a common occurrence. Hollow shaft encoders can be particularly vulnerable to these impacts, which can lead to mechanical damage. Sensata BEI's hollow shaft protective cover protects hollow shaft style encoders from mechanical damage during handling and installation. It can be used with HS25 or HS35 encoders and has a side cutout to allow for tether arm placement. It accepts NEMA 56 motor face and can be used with either a through shaft or blind shaft style encoder. Most motors that use the HS25 or HS35 should have a protective cover. These motors are often moved using a sling or fork truck, which could damage the encoder during installation. Motors are often mounted near the floor where they are subject to impact damage. In some encoder applications, the user needs to measure material while it is moving to trigger some other part of the application. This is where measuring wheels can help. They are often used to measure material for a rewind/slitter operation or for triggering a cut-to-length operation. The great thing about measuring wheels is their versatility. They can be mounted on a variety of encoders or different shaft styles. The wheels themselves are often of a high durometer polyurethane, which wears very well and is especially suited for handling of sheet or thick metal stock. Tether arms are used to mount hollow shafted encoders to a standard NEMA motor face or other structure that is stationary in relation to the encoder shaft. Encoders have a bearing mounted rotating shaft that keeps the internal sensing mechanism stable as it rotates. Similarly, a motor or other rotating shaft that is being used to measure or control that shaft is usually bearing mounted. When mounting an encoder to a shaft for measurement, it is impossible to get the axis of rotation perfectly aligned between both shafts. There will always be some runout. So while the encoder's hollow shaft is mounted to the motor shaft, the body has to be free to move axially and radially to accommodate runout and thermal changes to the shaft. If you did not use a correctly designed tether for the encoder and used a fixture instead, the motor runout would cause the encoder bearings to be grounded up through cyclic stresses. Couplings do for shafted encoders what tether arms do for hollow shafted encoders. As explained in the tether arms section, either the shaft can be rigidly fixed and allow the encoder body to accommodate runout, or the other way around. Shafted encoders usually have the body rigidly fixed and use a flexible coupling to accommodate for runout. Conversely, hollow shafted encoders have the bore fixed to a rotating shaft and use the tether arm to accommodate for runout. Once the data signals have been generated, there has to be a way to transmit that information to the controller or counter that is going to use that information. Connector mates allow the installer to build a cable or connector assembly that can be used for this purpose. It is best to use a cable that is UL listed to at least 85 degrees Celsius and uses twisted pairs for the data and power signals along with an overall shield. This will give the best performance over the life of the installation. Note that the encoder connector uses pins for termination and the connector mate uses sockets. This is so that the live electrical signals will be socketed, making them much less prone to shorting. If you want to avoid the hassle or just don't have a suitably high quality, low capacitance shielded cable available, you can use a pre-made cable assembly. The most popular varieties come with an overmolded back shell, which is UV resistant, forms an environmental seal, and provides strain relief. These pre-made cable assemblies come in a variety of lengths for different installation requirements. They are a perfect complement to a Sensata BEI encoder. Thank you for your time, Sensata Product University trainee. I hope you learned a thing or two about our new encoder installation accessories. If you have any questions, please reach out to your Sensata representative.